Hello, and welcome back to the Misty Morrison Podcast. I'm your host, Misty Morrison, and this is episode 45 of Petty Please. Here on the Misty Morrison Podcast, we love to judge, we love to give advice, we love all the petty drama. And specifically here on Petty Please, we love to read these stories, whether it's petty revenge, entitlement, neighbors from hell, anything like that. We love to just read it and be grateful that the drama is not our life. Before we get into our stories for the day, of course, our usual housekeeping, whether you are new or returning, please remember to engage with the content to help the channel grow. Any kind of engagement can help spread the word about the podcast. If you are listening on podcasts, please leave a 5-star review if you liked it. Anywhere else, please like or give it a thumbs up, share it with a friend if you liked it, subscribe for more, and leave a comment with your thoughts on the stories down below or on socials. I do read your comments. Okay, into our stories for the day. Story number 1 is coming to us from r/neighbors from hell. I am now the villain. I think it's safe to say that enough time has now passed that I can finally tell my story. Some time ago, I had some rather unsavory, drug-abusing neighbors move in directly next door to my home. Of course, they had the 5 or 6 dogs that always got out and seemed to defecate only in my yard. The mother of the bunch, obviously being morbidly obese and having more than 7 adult children with children of their own, at least 3 each, plus her own 3 underage children. In total, during the holiday days, when they would all converge at their home, there would be an excess of 30 people, both adults and children, continuously making noise into the night, not to mention the drunken arguments that would ensue from 11:30 to 12 o'clock at night, on into the early morning hours. These arguments would consist of people slamming around inside their home, doors slamming, screaming, windows shattering, revving engines, and in some cases law enforcement responding to their home with the occasional ambulance. The condition of their home was rather disgusting and got worse over time. The constant collection of dog feces in their backyard that was never cleaned up left the worst odor, especially during summertime. Even more so when it was raining. In a nutshell, this was probably our worst neighbors ever for about 4 years straight. I had finally had enough. It was time to make some chimichangas. What? Okay, I'm fully locked in now. I am interested. Over the next 30 days, I recorded their sleep patterns. Okay, stalker. I would randomly go over to their house after 6 o'clock in the morning and knock on their door. Sometimes 10:30, sometimes noon, just to see if they would answer the door with sleepwear or sleep marks on their face. After I figured this much out about when they were sleeping, I would make the occasional loud noise, which usually consisted of an aired-up basketball being thrown against their master bedroom wall from the outside, or firing up my Marshall amp and stack while rip out some Metallica or Monster Magnet riffs. I would do it until I heard movement inside or yelling, and then I would shut whatever it was I was doing down. They were awake and annoyed. Mission complete. I would also take random days off during the week and begin working on my cars or my motorcycles with uncapped exhaust during the times I knew they were sleeping. This is evil. Some of the smaller children that were staying there stayed in the room closest to the street, nearest to my garage at the corner of their house. I would rev my cars until I heard their children screaming and or crying. Once I heard them crying, I would close everything up and walk inside my house just as if I wasn't doing anything. It's daytime, and there were no noise ordinances during the daytime. On another occasion, one of the younger daughters was having a birthday party in their backyard. Fortunately for me, the afternoon breeze blows from my house in their direction, so that was the perfect day for me to do a lot of weed eating on my property, with dry grass and dust on the hill adjacent to their backyard. This cloud of dust that I was creating with my weed eater was flying directly into their barbecue, their food, and faces. The looks and stares I was getting from them will be burned into my mind forever. I was hoping for a confrontation at this point. This is the only small example of what I had done. If I were to give a complete story of everything that I had done, it would probably be the size of a medium-sized novel. I'm so interested, though. One of the final things I did to them before they finally moved. They had been partying for most of the day and had all actually turned in to go to sleep around 11:30 at night, which surprised me. This is when I pulled out the big guns. At about 2:30 in the morning, I woke up and pulled down a mortar round that my friend had purchased from a fireworks store in Idaho. This mortar round was probably the size of a can of beans and about 24 inches in length. Holy crap. At about 2:40 in the morning, I lit the fuse to the largest firework I'd ever lit in my entire life. The sound of the mortar made the sound that the mortar made when it left the tube sounded like a 12-gauge shotgun and was what initially woke up the neighbors. The actual explosion from the mortar 5 seconds later, after it was launched into the air, made the local newspaper 2 days later. Okay. This explosion was felt in my chest and rattled windows in my house and theirs. The morbidly obese mother screamed as if she was being attacked. The men and boys and other children in the house were yelling and screaming profanities. By this time, I had already removed the evidence from my yard and had retired to my living room to listen to the scanner. Just less than a week later, they had moved out. I win, bitches. I hope you enjoyed. Thanks for reading. Signed, Max. Max, you were dedicated. Seriously dedicated. Wow. Okay, story number 2 is coming to us from r/neighbors from hell. Neighbor thinks she's an astronaut and harasses everyone. Update in comments. I, male 26, moved across the country into an apartment with my parents as I save up to go back to school and live on my own around 2 years ago. This neighbor, female 40, let's call her Kate, has gotten progressively worse. Started as her talking for hours on end, stopping anyone walking by her. She loves to walk around outside smoking, talking to herself, and sitting on a lawn chair by the road. Kate would make comments about my partner. Female 30, calling her my sister, making rude remarks, as my partner doesn't like to put up with her and has told her to leave her alone multiple times. Kate has said things to me like, "Your sister is rude and always looks like she will murder me. Your sister hates me. I see her carrying a gun." This has escalated to now. She walks around the complex talking to herself, yelling and screaming at people, walking in front of cars entering and leaving, all nonsensical things, even to myself. As yesterday I left with my partner, she ran in front of the car waving her hands, yelling things, until moving away waving her hands as if she was directing traffic. My parents, who put up with her far better than myself, since it is clear she is mentally unstable, has said she calls herself an astronaut, a farmer looking for land, an undercover police officer. She now bangs on the doors below me, loud enough for us to hear, hours on end, yelling and talking to herself, starting from 6 a.m. every day, yelling the neighbors below me have guns, going to murder her, they have her child, and more obscene things as she bangs on their door. Today she pulled the fire alarm, trying to force those neighbors out of their house, confronting them, which started a verbal fight, lasting around 10 minutes before police and fire department showing up. She ran away into her apartment after screaming at the officials. I've called the crisis line, the police, and my apartment's manager. Nothing has been done. They all say until she physically harms someone, nothing can be done. This is harassment. Animal control and the police have been here multiple times, taking her animals away since she would abuse them, leaving them indoors for weeks alone at a time. She even started a fire in her own apartment with oil, splashing the burning oil on the sidewalk, blaming her direct neighbors, the ones below me, and the ones she's been harassing. I hear her outside now, banging on the door, yelling. She refuses any medical help, so until she hurts someone, no one will do anything. I'm afraid her mental state will cause her to harm someone or worse. I know we hear that a lot in true crime about people, about like authorities saying, oh, until she actually has physically done something, nothing can be done. But she hasn't hurt anyone physically yet. Ideally, we would like to stop that before it happens. She's physically banging on their doors. Are there quiet hours in your town or for your complex? Do they end before 6 a.m. or after 6 a.m.? Because that could be something to go with. She's obstructing traffic. That's something. But I think the constant harassment is enough. I would call and file harassment complaint, non-emergency, call and file harassment complaints every single time she blocks your car, she bangs on your door, anything, any kind of verbal altercation, call the police. Get it all documented, and maybe you can be annoying enough and consistent enough that they will do something. Also, an option from previous stories I've read, adult protective services might also be an additional option if she seems to be having a mental health episode and she's not being properly cared for. Adult protective services might be able to step in and do something, hopefully. So at the beginning, OP did say that there was an update in the comments, but before I actually found this original post, I found the update post. So for story number 3, we're going to go ahead and read the update post. So story number 3 is coming to us from r/neighbors from hell. Update, neighbor thinks she's an astronaut, now in jail. All right, so I made a post yesterday about a neighbor of mine. Long story short, for some who didn't read it, I also posted an update in the comments of the same post as well, but posting here as well in case someone was interested. This neighbor of mine is mentally ill. She was screaming at night and banging on doors, harassing everyone who was outside going to their car, driving, or just trying to walk their dog. Saying nonsensical things to them, causing a fuss. It was just annoying at first, but it got worse. Started with threats, false accusations, banging on doors, and eventually pulling fire alarms and littering in the yards. Well, she's gone. She was just arrested not too long ago. I was on my computer ignoring the shouts and banging on doors since around 6 to 7 this morning. In my last post, I mentioned myself and others called the police and crisis helpline. They said they couldn't do anything because she denied medical help until she harms someone or does property damage. The fire alarm went off and everyone was pissed. They knew who it was. I went outside because the alarm is a high-pitched, oscillating whine. I then saw 2 police cars parked, and Kate, the female 40 neighbor, I don't know her name, on the ground being arrested. She apparently decided to mess with someone's car, throwing fruit, food, tinfoil, and garbage. I did not see her committing the crime. However, the broken windshield and covered car next to her laying on the ground explained it all. She then pulled the fire alarm as the police arrived. Why? I don't know. They took her away in cuffs. More information I found out since my last post. She had an autistic son living with her. She lost custody of said child or adult. I'm not sure how old they were. She was in a hospital at some point. However, it seems they just let her go home under no one's custody. She is mentally ill, not sure with what. However, no one wanted to help her, us, or anyone around. No matter how many calls. So now some innocent person has been caught in her issues, and Kate is going to jail. Edit for spelling mistakes. Oh, and OP replied right after that with a picture of the car that she damaged. Wow. I mean, knowing that she is mentally ill and needed help, I hate that she went to jail, that help wasn't provided for her first. I know she refused medical help, but there are ways still to this day that you can get someone committed against their will. I hate that that option was not explored before they let it escalate to the point where they needed to take her to jail. Yes, she vandalized. Yes, she needs to go to jail for that. But I hope from this, she will be forced to the mental help she needs rather than just sent to jail for a while as punishment and released without the proper mental health care. Oh, I'm glad you updated us, and I'm glad that she is not harassing you guys anymore. Okay, moving on to petty revenge. Story number 4 is coming to us from r/petty revenge. Petty revenge on a slobby roommate. This is not my story. My friend told me this story and prefaced it with the fact that she was not proud of her actions. Upon hearing it, though, I was proud and felt it needed to be shared. I will tell the story from her perspective. When I was in college, one year, I had 3 roommates, Amy, Bella, and Kat. I had no issues with Amy and Kat, but Bella was very messy. There were constantly dirty dishes left throughout the apartment. Her clothing was all over the floor in our room. Her stuff left out in the bathroom, taking up most of the counter space. We tried to talk to her, but nothing changed. One day I came home from class and she had inexplicably spread her books all over the living room floor, making it nearly impossible to walk without stepping on a book. She was walking out the door to class, and I asked her to pick up her books first. She claimed she would be late for class, so she dashed out the door. Something snapped in me. She had left her wallet on the coffee table. I took the wallet and hid it in the empty flour canister. As I was leaving, I mentioned what I had done to Amy. Evidently, Amy had reached her breaking point as well. When Bella came home, she watched her tear apart the bathroom looking for her wallet. As soon as Bella's back was turned, she hid the wallet in the bathroom. Kat found out about this and jumped on board too. For the next 3 weeks, we worked in concert. Every time Bella searched an area, the wallet would be moved there. She eventually gave up and had to replace her license and cards. I'd like to say it made her tidier, but that wasn't the case. Luckily for me, she was only my roommate for 1 year. That's awful. That is worse than living with a toddler because you know that she knows well enough. She knows enough to know how to keep something clean. She knows it's rude to leave her books on the floor when nobody else can walk. Good for you guys. Good for you guys. I know your friend said that she wasn't proud of her actions, but she inconvenienced all of them constantly. This was just one little inconvenience they did to her. I just hate that she never realized the reason why she was tortured or inconvenienced like this, because maybe if she eventually knew why, maybe it would have made her tidier. One can hope. Okay, story number 5 is coming to us from r/petty revenge. Guys, I love my counter. Little desktop counter. I use double-sided tape to stick it to the table that all my stuff is on now, so I can't pick it up and show you again. But I love it. I'm not having to go back, scroll back through the ones that I've read and liked for a day to recount constantly. My number's right here, right next to my iPad. It's amazing. I think it was like $10. So worth it. So worth it. Okay, back to our story. Story number 5 is coming to us from r/petty revenge. Neighbors try to own the entire street in front of their house. I'm the first neighbor to not let them get what they want. And good for you. Not as petty as other posts here, but I can aspire to improve. My neighbors to my left have been hellish old crazies since I moved here 5 years ago. We were cordial up until last summer when the 70 to 75-year-old husband did the jerking off motion to my partner. For the second time, mind you, because his friend had parked in front of the guy's house for 24 hours, bachelor trip. Note, even with our friend parked there, both the husband and wife neighbors could also park their huge truck and Jeep. So there's tons of room, especially since the house on the other side of them doesn't have cars, so they just park in front of their place too. But whatever, keep peace and all, so we don't park in front of their house if we can help it, just because they aren't worth our time. But I knew I was done pretending to be nice. Yesterday, MLK Day, I heard a knock at our door at 8 a.m. But it was a holiday and I was off work, so I kept sleeping. Later, when my partner left for therapy, the neighbor approached him and said, "Yeah, we called the cops on you because you guys keep parking too close to our car." He was going to ticket you, but I said I'd talk to you first. My partner, always wanted to avoid drama, just shrugged and went to therapy. When he told me 4 hours later when he got home, I was skeptical. One, I wasn't parked illegally, nor was I close to the car. I was estimating about 2 feet of space between us. I was also parked in front of my own house. 2, if I was going to be ticketed for that, I would have. Or they would have left a note at my door. Also, I'm parked in front of my own house and our apron, no driveway, but apron. What is the problem exactly? So the shit stirrer I am, I went outside and bumped my car a little closer, so now there was only 1 foot between us. As I closed my car door, I even got some pageantry and threw up a peace sign and left hip leaned towards their house. They have cameras covering every square inch, and the one hour out front also covers my entire lawn, so they saw. I also called the non-emergency line and asked to speak with the officer who came to my residence. Told him the story and he laughed and sighed, saying that he was never going to ticket me, and when he told our neighbor, he was grumpy and pissed off. They even offer to do house checks for us since we leave for our honeymoon soon. Neat, right? Yeah. So a few hours pass, and suddenly there's a cop car in front of the neighbors. He called once again and showed the video to the cop, but he tried telling them I was flipping him off versus doing the peace sign. Thankfully, the cop is smart and knew the difference. Cop comes to our house. I let him in and tell him about the numerous threats, fear-mongering, aka how he also tried lying that this guy was going to ticket me, and how he acted so disrespectfully and immature to us that I was done pandering to these old people. Our neighbor to the right has also had issues with them, more racially as our asshole neighbor is a racist and they are brown. So we are on the same page. I explained that I know the cop isn't innocent in this and is playing middleman, but since I am doing nothing illegal or morally wrong, I will continue to park how I want. The cop alluded to continue doing what I was doing and make sure to avoid anything illegal, and I agreed and thanked him. Not super petty, I know, but this is the start, I bet. I'm going to keep parking 1 foot from their Jeeps behind in front of my house, also over our apron to our non-existent driveway, and let him raise his blood pressure. Can't be good for his health in the long term. Also, if cops keep being called on me for legal doings, I will stop opening the door and be sure to file a harassment/restraining order. The cops know these people well, since they call many times for other nonsense, and our neighbor to the right had to call them on the other neighbors because they were threatening them and their kids. Not all neighbors are like this, right? We plan to move in 1 to 2 years anyway, but I work from home and take joy in stirring pots, as you see. I mean, if you're bored and you've got the time, that's a lot. That's a lot. And I mean, no, you shouldn't, like, you're parking in front of your own house. You shouldn't be doing anything different. But the fact that they're willing to call the cops so frequently, the poor cops, really. Story number 6 is coming to us from r/petty revenge. Behaving like a child? Then my ex-boss was one of the most toxic, abusive, narcissistic people I've ever met, and an absolute man-child. He would have hours-long screaming meltdowns at least once a week over demands that were impossible to fulfill. I'm not talking like complete work and tight deadlines or unreasonable demands. I mean, just for one example, he wanted everything within reach of his desk for convenience and could not accept that we couldn't make 2 or more objects occupy the same physical space. Can't you just magic it? Sorry, boss, you don't pay me magic wages. Oh, but when we tried to talk to him about it, and the intolerable working conditions were too sensitive. I'm not shouting at you, I'm just shouting. Or sometimes, aw, poor baby, boo-hoo. Are you a grumpy bum today, little precious? Just absolute adult toddler behavior. One day he has once again bodged something, and it's come back to bite him on the ass. And once again he is all, I blame everyone but myself, demanding we fix his mistake and whining about how, maker of whatever it was, always makes it so hard. I ask him what the problem is. He tells me what he's done, eventually after several rounds of, I just wanted to do XYZ, without explaining what's stopping him from just doing it. And it is, once again, because he's wanting it to do something it's not capable of doing. Not because it's poor quality, not because it's not got that feature, but because it's conceptually impossible. There's no way for this thing, nor any other thing, to just do XYZ. And he's wasted hours already trying to get it to obey him. I've given this man every F I have, and I have exhausted my supply. I turn to him with wide eyes and open mouth. I put on a babyish voice, soft and lispy, and whisper like I'm in shock. Oh no, you a silly dum-dum head. My colleague, who also has to put up with his shit, just crumples with laughter and watches all hell break loose between me and the boss. Still worth it, though. Okay, but did you get fired? He fully deserved it, but did you get to keep your job after that? The first comment says, that's amazing, you're a legend. And OP replied and said the funny thing was this happened all the time, so I got quite good at quick, sharp comebacks. I developed a razor sharp wit as a sort of coping/survival mechanism, a way to take a little power back for myself from the bullying. But somehow it was the simplicity of this one that really set him off. I get it. Um, well, I mean, from the sound of that, it sounds like you do this regularly and you still have your job, so awesome. Props to you. That's hilarious, and he had it coming. All right, that is 6 stories for this week's episode of Petty Please. Thank you so much for being here for another episode, and I will see you guys next time. Remember, kindness changes everything. Bye.